VIX spike. Should you change IV rank thresholds? What do you think, sir?
To make trades. I mean, we have. So I'm going to answer this in it's sponsored by the SIBO, by the way.
Yes.
Thank you very much. I'm going to answer this the way in honesty, because those IV rank thresholds are subject to change,
yes, but
they're subject to change in your own mind. Like, you have to have a little bit of market awareness here and kind of bend the, not rules, but bend the guidelines. Absolutely, they change.
I agree. I think you have to have a little bit of flexibility with IV rank.
It's a guide. It's something to look at. It's not an absolute.
For sure.
Because there is no absolutes in trading.
No, but everybody's looking for that.
Yep.
So I agree with you.
Good.
So IVR is calculated off of a 1-year look back of past implied volatility. It's important to know that what implied volatility is doing along with IVR. When you look at this chart, it goes to exactly what my dad was just saying. When volatility spikes, it gets to typically an extreme point like this. And you could use, this is a pretty big look back of 10 years. You could do this as far back as you want. You'll see the same sort of occurrence happening. You know, every year or so, more in some years, less in others. Sometimes you don't have the 40 or 50 VIX, but you usually have a spike, and then you have a cluster, and then you have a littler spike, and then a cluster, and a bigger spike, and then a cluster. It very much looks like this, where a lot of times volatility clusters in a range for 3 to 6 months. You have a spike event, whatever the news is, the thing is that spikes market volatility. And typically over a shorter period of time than the clustering, 1 week, 1 month, 2 months, sometimes with it like we're dealing with right now, your volatility stay a little bit in a higher range, and then it usually contracts, and then you spike, and et cetera. So IVR is going to reflect what's happened in the last year. And if you have a crazy big volatility change, that's going to be in the IVR numbers. So you have to keep that in mind.
Got to keep it in mind.
If implied volatility was high over the last year, you could get away with lowering your IVR threshold for premium selling. So right here on the right side, you're looking at a chart of IVR mean reversion after a spike of 40 or more. So here you can see that when you get a spike of 40 or more, your IVR of 50, it's a very short-lived occurrence. It usually comes in about 20 points on IVR.
Yep.
It's why when you have an occurrence that is an outlier, IVR of 30 is generally like a high mark moving forward for the next year. You could sit there and say, oh, well, that was only one time, and use percentile. You certainly could, and you could look at percentile. Sure. But you also can't ignore the fact that you're going to be skewed by a volatility event. A spike in volatility to 60 or 80, it usually doesn't stay like that. There's one of those in a year.
That is true. And something that they're not talking about here is the whole kind of psychological aspect of what's going on in the market itself. When volatility is going higher, things are not usually looking good.
No.
So you've got to kind of take a step back and just try to take advantage of the pricing anomalies that you're getting. You said this numerous times this morning about volatility and skew in options. And I said to you, why don't we just sell a spread? And you're like, spreads trade real cheap. And that's the fact when you have skew on that side. So you have to change the strategy to supplement what's going on with the IV rank and volatility.
For sure. And to that point, you can clearly see there's a negative convexity / mean reversion that happens when volatility gets really, really high. So when volatility is super low or IVR is low, like below 20, you don't really have much change in that IVR. Like the IVR change happens, like the 30 mark being kind of the higher end, it goes from 30 to 100.
Yep.
And then 100 back down to 30 is typically what you see, because you have the periods of very high extreme volatility are very, very short-lived, and you get them essentially once a year, we'll just say.
That is right.
So that's why, when you look at IVR and people get all hung up on it, like the 20 to 30 range is the spot. That's like, I would call that normal volatility, IV rank range. Like that's like high, opportunity is there, etc. 30 to 40, 30 to 50 is like high volatility. 100 is when stuff is hitting the fan. And you only have that period of time for a very short period of time. I mean, you see it here, when IVR's in the 20 to 30, 30 to 40, 40 to 50 range, you're still getting a huge vol contraction there. Absolutely. When you're at 100, you typically get the massive vol contraction because it's usually the peak of volatility. Like you don't get multiple 100 occurrences in an IVR 1 year range. It happens once.
Yes.
And it's usually a huge vol event.
Let's go one step further, and I don't know, are they going to look at low volatility here for?
Yeah, I mean, we have like low IVR here where you're getting, when you're looking
I'll
at.
save my comment. Go ahead.
So here, what you're seeing on this chart, when IV rank is like below 10 or in the 10 to 20 range, the change in volatility is minimal, if not against you. So like those are the periods where we talk about like, define risk, a little bit more directional, volatility's low, you don't use as much buying power, the tail risk increases, et cetera. You can see it here that the reversion is actually up. You typically see when IVR is at 10, over a period of time, volatility tends to actually increase because it's low. Shouldn't be a shock.
Totally agree. And avoiding trades when IV rank is low. When
being more selective.
Being more selective, selling premiums is the flip side of this coin. So like, it's not only the offensive look at something, hey, how can I trade this from an offensive point of view? Hey, maybe I'm not going to do something selling premium in here because I'm not going to get that extra little volatility contraction when I put on trade. Maybe I'm going to do something with a little bit more delta to it or be a little bit more dynamic. Maybe you notice front month vol lower or higher than back month vol, and you'll do something to benefit from there. So it's not just IV rank. Let's look at it. I'm not going to make a trade in here. I am going to make a trade in here. It's actually, I am going to make a trade in here, but I'm going to make a trade in here that's intelligent to the IV rank.
Yes.
Next.
On the flip side, if IV has been declining for a while, we can raise our IV threshold for selling premium. So after you have a period of time, like a 8-month stretch where volatility doesn't really go anywhere, we saw that kind of in the middle of last year after tariff tantrum kind of period of time where volatility got low. Low IVR tends to rise strongly. So you tend to, once volatility gets low, you tend to be subject to a pop in volatility. The strong negative convexity at high IVR largely disappears. So when volatility gets low and you get that pop from a VIX of 18 to 20, it doesn't have that same sort of huge vol contraction. It's kind of the same vol is really what it's saying. The surface is much flatter and even slightly bid across most buckets. And IVR expansion risk is concentrated in the sub 20 IVR rank. So when you're in that 20 or less IV rank situation, you should kind of expect to make your money via time decay and delta exposure. It's not coming from a change in volatility because vol tends to increase. And if you're short premium, it's going to go against you.
There you go. That's basically what I was saying. You guys did a great job.
Yes. So the question is, let's see if adjusting IVR thresholds after a period of extreme IVR highs or lulls made a big impact in P&L when selling premium. So we use data from 2009 to 2018 for a better understanding, just because volatility had a very long period of clustering into post 08. There was a lot of kind of just clustering in the 2010s to or 2012, 13, 14, 2018. So the study is going to be a SPY of from 09 to 2018, sold the 20 Delta Strangle, 45 days, managed at expiration to capture the entire 45-day test period. We sold when IVR was above 10 in 2009, 1 year following the VIX high, which was 85 at that time. Craziness. Sold only when IVR was above 40 in 2018. So basically what we did was we tried to cherry pick this and say, like, what happened if you sold during the lowest parts and sold during the highest parts in two separate buckets here. Compared the P&L to selling when IVR was above 30 in both periods. So we're comparing the worst, the quote unquote highest volatility, or what you would think would be the best, and then kind of the middle range.
Okay.
Be high, but not super high.
Sure. The Goldilocks.
The Goldilocks. And again, you can't do this in practice because you don't have a crystal ball.
Yeah, that's correct.
So this is just a look at like what happens. So when adjusting the IVR threshold to 10 after a high in the VIX, we get slightly lower average P&L compared to selling when IVR is only above 30, but we get nearly twice the trades. That's the caveat. So if you just said to yourself, I only want to sell when volatility is high, well, you're only going to get 81 occurrences. If you're looking at when it's above 10, which is like medium-ish, low to medium, you're going to double your number of occurrences. So there's always going to be a push and pull, and you can change you don't have to trade the strangle.
That's right.
You can trade.
You're not a market maker. You don't have to make markets in there. You can go someplace else.
Do the diagonal spread. Do cover calls.
Yeah.
You want to do at the money long call spreads, put spreads, whatever. You don't have to do the strangle, but this is just a point to make. Is like there's only so much high volatility, and there's only so many times where volatility is super high, and we're only looking at SPY here. So when IVR is really low in the market, you go to Teslas and you go to Nvidias.
That's right. Take your ball and jacks and go somewhere else. You know what balls and jacks are?
Can't be. Yeah. Can't be one dimensional.
That's right.
When adjusting up the IVR threshold after VIX lulls, like in 2017, we get a significantly better P&L than using our normal threshold of 30. So when volatility gets really high, you got to kind of move the goalposts a little bit. Even though there were less occurrences when waiting for a higher IVR, the P&L is much higher. What this is telling you is like when the stuff hits the fan, because it's a family show, won't be swearing. When things hit the fan, it is an opportunity. It just is much less. There aren't that many occurrences.
That's right.
And so you have to have buying power to take advantage of it.
Goes to all the other things that you put in staying mechanical, right? Go ahead.
Yes. You have to have the capital ready to deploy. Mm-hmm. You can't be, it's why we're always talking about when volatility is low, you got to kind of step aside a little bit. You get a little bit more directional. You put different sort of trades on.
Yeah.
You got to have that capital. That said, you can't sit around and wait for it. You can't sit here.
So what do I do? Do I sit and wait, or do I put the capital to work? What do I do? How do I do this?
You got to trade. There's no perfect answer.
Mm-hmm. That's right. There is no perfect answer.
Couple takeaways. Adjusting the IVR threshold based on where the VIX trades the previous year may have tangible results for your P&L for the year. If you have a spike in volatility, it's going to skew your volatility numbers. If the VIX traded in a lull for a year, adjust the IVR thresholds to sell premium to 40 or higher. That would be optimal. Again, these are like the best case scenarios. You can't do this in practice. The VIX had just experienced a large spike. Adjust our IVR thresholds to sell premium at 10 or higher. What that's saying is when you have these spikes, you should expect volatility numbers, IVR numbers to be lower.